Alright, what I'm doing out here today is pulling up all the wires and the ones that went down to the different accessories. I'm pulling them out, and if I can pull them out, if they do go all the way back to like the fuse box, go down the channel to the fuse box, I'm just pulling them back and sticking them, leaving them rolled up in the head here. If they were attached at a certain point, I'm just cutting them, wrapping it, and then I'll wrap that in this sheathing tape to make absolutely sure that it never ever comes and makes contact with anything. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing today, is tracing wires and getting rid of as many unnecessary wires as possible. Working on it. It's getting real warm in here. The sun, it's still cool outside, but the sun is out and it's hitting that the top of this thing and turning it into a toaster. Alright, for some crazy reason, before the alternator was replaced, this panel never worked. Now it works. So these lights come on and there's power going to things, and so it just shows you the trouble you can be in when you don't have a good alternator, a good power source. Anyway, going through all these wires, pulling out coax for old TV and speaker wires that won't be a part of the new system, taking out power lines that went down to the lower stuff. But I'm leaving a couple of the ones that are controlled by that panel. And this one's from that panel. And that one went to the little dimmer light that was down the corner. So it's controlled by the dimmer switch up on your headlights. So I'm going to leave those three, because I might be able to make use of those. The wires are already run. They run to a switch. And the wires are all, run to the front. So I won't be in a hurry to take those out yet. I'm trying to figure out what other lines are doing nothing. So working my way through that. So then I was looking at the ceiling. And I know for winter camping, even for summer, for this thing not being a hot box, having good ceiling insulation is really going to be important. And in the bump in the center, you stick your hand up in here, there's nothing up there, it's just empty space. So that really needs to be insulated. So that means ceiling's got to come down. So I thought, I was hoping to not have to disturb this box. I know it's structural. And the more I looked at it, I realized, it's the ceiling panel runs continuous right to the back. And in the front, it only runs just to about there. Okay, so those boxes, front and back, are structural for the roof and for holding the ceiling panel up. So I might get away with not having to do too much up here as far as that's concerned, but it looks like I'm going to have to dismantle this back box and able to drop that ceiling, take out unnecessary stuff, and insulate above it. I'm going to have to put in a max air fan. So I was hoping that I wouldn't have to get into that, but nope, that's not the way it's going to work. So yeah, now I want a good thermal break in there all the way across. So gotta rip all that apart. Oh goody. Alright, just taking out all the screws on the other side. I cut the top out there and went through some of the wires, and just taking all the screws out of the other side now. This was the original power control for the bed that would lay down. And the vents, which were screwed to these back things, that's gonna be interesting putting back in place. I can tell that now. That's gonna be interesting. And if I'm gonna keep all this, the spacing probably won't change. Oh no, I think they're pretty thin. And there's probably some space to go in a little bit, maybe. I don't know. This heat unit, a lot of people think this is AC. In mine, it certainly doesn't work like an AC. I don't know if it was meant to. But I found that in the winter, it works really well in putting the heat out in those three holes there. And I don't know if I'm going to keep all 3 of them. I was thinking about just keeping 2 of them, the 2 upper ones. That one's going to be inside a cabinet. And if you were going to put lithium-ion batteries on this side, that might be advantageous, but that's not the way I was thinking about doing my build. So I'm thinking about that one. But anyway, this worked really good as a heater in the winter time. So I just took the screws out of here. So there's what's behind there. There's a radiator in there. And coolant lines come up. When I see those kind of lines, I almost think that it is supposed to be AC. Because the AC does work up front, but I don't think it works back here. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Anyway, for the time being, I'm going to keep this unit unless I mess something up. Yeah, because in the wintertime, if you're driving and then you're stopping for the evening, this is throwing a good heat back here. Preheating your sleep space. So now I'm going to go up and take those screws out that go in through this box, which I learned on the other side. Alright, I just got this wall out. And I'll tell you, those screws that were up in there that go into the side of this wall and then into the metal, I believe. What a pain! Holy moly! I still don't actually have the screw out. I got a pair of vice grips on there, and I still don't get the screw out. Oh my dear, what a nightmare. Anyway, this another panel out. Alright, just got the box down. The main screws that are holding it in are going through the back. So this is the front. They're going through the bottom of the back. Some long ones there you can see. And they're going through this top lip up into the roof wood, which is surprising to me. They're up in here. It was screwed to this as opposed to, I thought it was more of a support for that. I guess it still is, but I'm hoping this will come down. I've got the first back panel off the roof here, and I can see how it's probably constructed all the way across. There's support wood running the length of the van probably on both sides, and then 3 in the center. And I'm guessing this chunk of wood is screwed to those. Just trying to figure out exactly what they did there. Then I got these panels on the side, which are not attached to the center wood. They're screwed to that support wood. I'll leave these in place for screwing up the top pieces. It's raining out there. Glad I'm in here. Can you hear the rain? If I ever get this insulated, you'll hear it less. Something that's just occurring to me, that if those support woods go all the way through the center, we'll find out soon, but if they do, then my max air fan will either be going offside or some interestingly weird place in the side of a panel or something, because I won't want to cut those to put a fan in and seriously mess with the structural integrity of the top. Learn as you go. Alright, I've been unscrewing these wooden strips that have the lights in them. Have the stock lights in them, and they don't have any quick connects, so I'll just have to cut those lines. Won't be reusing these old technology lights. I'm assuming that they won't measure up to today's LED stuff. Alright, trying to get the ceiling down, got all the material off. A lot of the screws are underneath these strips that they stapled up to create channels for the lights and stuff. So it's just rip and tear, absolute chaos and mayhem. It's just nastiness. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just nasty. But I can't stop. I gotta keep going. Alright. I was just plain nasty. I was wondering if I did that, but it's full of resin. Because I didn't get all the screws out before the whole sheet started pulling through those and coming down. What I didn't realize, there wasn't just one screw that I had taken out attaching it to the header. There was actually 2 more, which makes sense. So if you don't take those ones out first, you'll wind up with a suspended 4x8 piece sheet of plywood trying to yank this header down while you balance it, and then run and get milk crates to try and lift it up so you can try and find these screws to pull them out. And then once they do start, you find them and you get them out, then it's going to pull out on you, and then you realize that there's 2 power lines that need to be cut that were supplying power to those lights. And then when you cut them, the whole 4x8 sheet of plywood is going to want to come down on you, filled with all the staples and spikes that were holding all that material and strips of wood in, or so I'm told. You know, that could happen, or you could just avoid all that and take those screws out and cut the power lines. You know, it's probably the better approach. Well, I don't know what time in the morning is, but I'm going to clean up all this horrible mess and call it a night. Oh my goodness. and through this whole process, all the old foam backing will be crumbling and falling apart everywhere, and thus the continuous cleanups. And that's a wrap. All right. Got my happy knees on. So it's about 1 inch depth in these creases between the low point and the high point. And so I basically have to fill all these spaces with 1 inch. So I got to see if I have any 1 inch. And then start filling all this up, and then it'll be even, and then I'll have to decide how much past this I want to go, because you're going to lose head space, right? So you want enough insulation, but you also don't want to cut down on your head space any more than you have to. So one thing I heard Matt on the Van Plus channel talk about is getting overwhelmed with the decisions of, okay, you're going to put up some insulation, should you use Nails Plus, should you use industrial adhesive, should you use super glue, you know, the endless possibilities, and somebody's already, you know, made the mistakes for you out there somewhere on the internet. But it can just be an endless pursuit of trying to find out, was there something that didn't work that you need to avoid? But I think in this case, based on my previous experience, a lot of that is not what matters, because I mean, long as you create a seal with a with a combination of the solid foam and the spray foam, as long as you create a seal, creating a vapor barrier and therefore a heat barrier, that's basically the bottom line. Then it's all going to get locked in with wood. So the adhesive is just there to keep it in place until you can make it a solid sealed membrane and get the wood there to seal it up. Not that the wood is sealing it up, the wood is basically holding it in place and creating a finish. But I completely understand when he talks about getting overwhelmed with those kind of decisions, because you want to make the right choices, but not get overwhelmed and then wind up doing nothing and losing time because you didn't know which way to go. So I'm going to skip all that frustration and just make things happen as best I can. So as far as sticking it up there, first I got to see if I got anything that's relevant. So in these turtle tops, I guess they call them, there's this rise part there, and there's no benefit to it, really, because there's this cross brace here, and so it's just basically fill this up with insulation. This is going to wind up with a little bit more insulation than say here. You know, you're going to have like a ½ inch or an inch or whatever more extra in the dead center. None of it's going to make any difference really, just as long as everything is insulated and then it's one level. So it all has to be basically this level, which would be the same as this level. Yeah. Anyway, blah blah blah, get to work. Alright, I gathered a bunch of pink and blue 1-inch, and so I'm going to start filling the gaps. I got some duct tape to hold in place, and I might just use carpenter's glue to try and tack it in place. We'll see how that works out.
Are you beaten, broken, destroyed, got nothing left? You've given up and you feel like checking out. Don't. Start thinking outside the cage.
So tell me, how do you feel? Have you been handed more than you can deal? Better hit the open road or blaze across the sky.